Today, we are diving into what it takes to make the home shopping process go much smoother for you. And of course, we'll look at Wright County market update like we always do every Wednesday. I'm Erica Carlson. I'm with a boutique brokerage called Bricks Real Estate. I help people sell residential and purchase real estate all over the Twin Cities and surrounding areas. If you learned something new today, I'd love for you to join me on Instagram, Facebook, or my YouTube channel just to continue to follow information like this. If you are ready to take the next steps or you have questions about real estate, you can reach me at the link below and then choose the first link to set up a good time for us to talk. Of course, pick a time that works best for you. So if you're new here, you might not know my website, iheartmplsminneapolishomes.com. When you scroll down a little bit, you will see two links, one for a buyer and one for a seller guide. I will absolutely not know if you decide to download these guides. They're PDF files. There's absolutely no login, no requirement to get this information. I think it's that important. That's why, we just give it away. Here's what a hard copy of the Smart Home Buyer looks like. I give this to everybody I initially meet. And so today I told you that I would give you information on how to make the home buying process go smoothly. And there's just one big thing, and you is to have a priority list. And I'm going to just go a little bit deeper on what that means. I promise you it's not as obvious as it sounds. I mean, we can take it at a face level, which is, make a pros and cons list, know what you're shopping for. But I just want to go a little bit deeper than that. And if you do download my guide, I want to say it's on page 13 of where I'm pulling this information from. You can see the book is very straightforward. Like, this is all just one page. There's there's tons of pictures, and just this is packed load full of information. So if you're a first-time home buyer, please look at something like this. Or even if you've bought a house before, you might learn something new that's in there. So there's three big things that I'm going to hit on quickly. The first one is everybody makes compromises. It really does not matter who you are, whether your budget is big or small, whether you're buying new construction or you're buying resale. We all make some sort of compromises, which goes back to, this is why we need to know what we're shopping for. How can I find it if I haven't given any time and thought to that? And so just keep that at the top of your mind. That is just something that comes up over and over again as we're shopping for houses, that everybody makes those compromises. Of course, you don't want to compromise on everything, because that's what leads to buyer's remorse and buyer's regret. The second thing you should be very aware of is that we're not ever, well, I guess I never should say never, should I? You shouldn't be looking for your forever house. If you're a first-time home buyer, you're looking for your 3 to 5 year house. If you are not a first-time home buyer, I would still give you the same advice. What is going on in your life today? What are we shopping for today? We cannot predict the future. We do not know what life has coming at you. So today you're buying a 2-story, and God forbid something happened and one day stairs don't make sense, then maybe this isn't going to be your forever house. However, you shouldn't be looking for no stairs. If you're fine with stairs today, like what is the point of that? So it puts so much stress on us when we say, I'm never moving again. This is my forever house. How can you even make a decision? I liken this to cars, which I might bring up here again. If I told you you were going to drive a Honda Civic for the rest of your life, this Honda Civic. Now, I know houses aren't cars, but in a way, how is this different? This pair of jeans, I have to wear this pair of jeans. I hope you don't gain weight. I hope you don't lose weight. I hope nothing in your life changes, because this is the pair of jeans you're going to get, and the only pair of jeans. I don't think shopping for houses is different. I know you're probably thinking, Erica, it is. I have to move. It's expensive. Selling is expensive. It's stressful. It's emotional. I hear you. It honestly, it's more similar than you think it is. So yes, we all know those things are hassle. So 3 to 5 years, if you stay longer, if you stay shorter, fine, it is what it is. But have that mindset. And I know my real estate agent told me that 16, 17 years ago when I purchased the house I'm in right now. I didn't really want to listen, because at that time I had one-year-old and I thought I was going to have more children. And so I thought I wanted a 4-bedroom house. And, I'm not going to say like she said the wrong thing, but I didn't have more than one child. I didn't need a 4-bedroom house, and we're fine. But is this the ideal space for 3 people? No, it's excessive. So could have I done something else with that money? Yes, no regrets, whatever. But I'm just passing that on to maybe save you some energy that you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and so shop for what you need to now. On that third thing, most important thing, that priority list, right? That was entirely the point of this conversation. And I'm going to give you 5 things that I want you to rearrange. We call it the fight starter. If you have a partner, this partner doesn't necessarily need to be a romantic partner. Anybody that you're purchasing a house with, you should be sitting down and having this conversation with. I don't know that I have it memorized, so I'll be pulling it here from the book in just a moment. And you can write this down, or again, I can give this to you, and you want to sit down and decide which of the top 2 are going to be non-negotiables. When we say out loud, I'm open, I'm not picky, we all know that sounds nice. The problem is, let's go back to cars for a second. When you go car shopping, do you tell your car salesperson, I need to test drive an SUV, and then a 4-door sedan, and then a Jeep, and then a limo, and you know what? Let's look at pickup trucks. I don't know, and maybe somebody does buy cars like that, but my instinct is you don't. My instinct is, before you start going to all these various dealerships, which we know is time consuming, which we know for a lot of us isn't a lot of fun, we might say, I'm only shopping for a pickup truck. I don't need to see any of these other brands and models and things. It's these 3. I'm going to go test drive these, and then I'm going to make a decision. And I've got a budget, and I want this color, whatever. So can you see the thing I'm doing here? I'm trying to say to you, what's the difference? So when you're not sure whether you're buying a Rambler, a townhouse, a 2-story, a duplex, the entire state of Minnesota is on the list. We could go on and on, right? So we have to do something to say, here's everything, and I need to shrink it down to a handful of properties that I'll know it when I see it. Now, that's another thing people say, but you only know it when you see it because you actually know what you're shopping for. And this is somebody who's acutely aware of what they're shopping for. The other end of the spectrum, of course, is the words too picky, too selective. If you tell somebody, I need this, and we go look for it on our database and it doesn't exist, are you okay that this house might come up once every 10 years? Are you really moving if that's the circumstance? No, you're probably just dreaming and thinking if it has to be these 20 things and all 20 things are equally important. Again, that goes back to my first comment. Everyone makes compromises. So what components of the 20 things can we let go? Not all of them. Again, we want you to purchase what actually makes sense to you. So let me give you the 5 things that you should be talking to your partner about. If you don't have a partner, then obviously you're going to do this activity on your own, and you're going to list them from least or most important to you, whatever order you want to go to. So we're going to start with price range. Most of us, even people with a lot of money, to be quite blunt, have a price point. We never have like an infinite budget for again, the majority of us would not have an infinite budget. So obviously setting that and staying true to that, and that's a whole nother conversation. And since I talk to you guys so frequently about financials, I wanted to talk about something different today. So let's just keep that simple. The second thing is size, and we're going to broaden that definition a little bit to floor plans and layouts. So don't get stuck in like, oh, I need a certain size house. That's definitely a requirement for a lot of people. They'll say at least this or no more than that. They don't hear that as much, but typically people will say, here's the minimum. And you do want to give that thought. But again, we could put in, this style of house could go into the size. I really have to have 3 bedrooms on one level because I have little kids or, something like that. The third thing I want you to write down is condition. We're going to broaden that definition a little bit too. I don't just mean like this is a full fixer-upper versus no work. And again, that's subjective, right? That we all define, painting for some people as a fixer-upper, and other people, they're willing to fully gut a house and start over or whatnot. So that's what we mean, obviously, by condition, but updates and amenities. So, have they already, put in some, smart home devices? Maybe it's a townhouse and you'd really like a pool. Maybe, and I'm even thinking, like, let's say I wanted a pet, do they allow pets? Do they not allow pets? Things like that. Location is the fourth one. Again, you could just define that by like which city you want to live in or what school district, which are definitely important details. Again, this is typically at the top of our list of things that are super important to us as individuals. You could go a little broader than that on this topic. Do I see myself living in a traditional suburban neighborhood? How close are the houses together? What's too close? What's too far away? Maybe you want to define it by a distance from a job, a daycare, a school you attend, things like that. Maybe you prefer the city. Maybe you don't prefer the city. So it doesn't have to be like, I want to live in this particular area of the Twin Cities. You could broaden it a little bit more like that. And then lastly is neighborhood, which is probably the one that I struggle with the most. But I think of neighborhood in terms of, again, this would be more like how close the homes are, where are the parks, schools, things like that matter to me. So I know that location versus neighborhood is kind of a fuzzy line, but I think you can make a distinction. I know, of course, many of you would make a totally different list. You would say it has to have 2 bedrooms. It has to have at least 1 car garage. I have to have central air conditioning. I don't want a split level, things like that. Not that those things aren't important, but maybe you can put them into these categories to kind of see if there's a theme arising. And again, we call this the fight starter because there's not going to be a compromise between you and your partner, whether it's your sister or, again, a romantic partner or something like that. You guys have to have the same priority, because the last thing you want to do is look at house after house after house, and it's just causing arguments because one person wants to live on this side of town, but they're dragging you to this side of town. One person wants a townhouse, the other person wants a house. I mean, I'm not talking about myself as the real estate agent being the pickle in the middle, but just for you and your sanity, don't start the process till you both know what you're shopping for, because then when you see it, you fully see it. The type of person that says, I'm open, I'm super flexible, this is not to be disrespectful, but that might be actually a way of saying, I don't know what I'm shopping for. If you think you're in that camp before you start house shopping, what I would, ask you to do is talk to your real estate agent about what's called an exploratory tour. Now, this isn't like common language, right? This came from my brokerage. And I love it. I love starting when I've never met somebody before. I don't truly know their priorities, as we go out and we look at 3 to 5 properties. Maybe they pick a few, maybe I pick a few. And what we do is we don't get so concerned about, picking the house and this is the one and we're going to write an offer. In fact, all of that should be shoved off the table, and it should just be, I'm just looking to look. I need to know what's in this price point. I need to know what I can buy in this side of town. Maybe let's look over on this side of town and then let's go to this side of town and see if there's a difference that I can get more for my money here, or houses are bigger, or, there's just, I'm kind of going off a little bit of a tangent here, but there are going to be things that don't exist in certain areas. You want a certain age house or a certain style house on a certain side of town, it might not exist, or it doesn't exist at this time. You think about being closer to the city. The land is maxed out. Maybe houses were all built around a certain decade and then they moved out. That's why a lot of times you see, as you get away from the city, the houses get newer or younger as you get away, because that's where the land kept developing. So the houses, of course, are newer, or that's why you get a little bit more land, just as an example. If you are finding you are looking at house after house and you're not making progress, you're not seeing what you need, the check-in is probably internal. If we're being really honest, I'm going to play psychologist here, is to slow down and think about what those top 2 things are. Don't bend on them. Those are your 2. That's what you have to shop for. Don't request to see houses or go to open houses that don't hit those 2 priorities. And then hopefully you're spending time looking at the right houses instead of finding this process completely exhausting. Let's look at the market data for this week. Overall, things have stayed about the same as the last few weeks. And so if you're looking at the screen with me here. We're looking at April 10th. I'll highlight it here. And you can see at 468 active total properties in Wright County, that is not much of a change over the last few weeks. It's been pretty consistent. 450 don't have any sort of contingencies. Again, not much of a change. Pendings went up a little bit over last week. Nothing huge and remarkable. However, the closings, and I only look at the last 30 days, they jumped up quite a bit. So we went from 131 last week to 154. Now, remember, it was Easter last week, so I could see maybe some people purposely push their closing off. Also, a lot of times people close at the end of the month, so it'd be interesting to kind of see if we ever see a pattern with that. I've never really given that too much thought before, but I do wonder if some people pick the following week after Easter just because of the holiday. I don't know. Maybe that was a coincidence. The big thing that jumps out to me this week, other than the closings went up, was our showing activity just blew up. And I had to just kind of stop and think about it for a second and go, how was it that last week we had about 3 showings per week per listing in the 250 to 500K range, and then suddenly a week later after Easter we have 7.8. And just to make sure everybody understands what I'm trying to say here, it's an average number I take for that price range in our county, and I say, okay, how many showings are these houses getting on average? So that would be like telling you, if you were going to put your house on the market, you were going to get 7 showings per week. That's really distorted. I went all the way back. I mean, you can see I'm scrolling up here. There's nothing close to 7. Actually, ever since I started taking this data, I've never had 7 showings a week in Wright County. So it's like, well, what's going on? So I looked at the inventory in Wright County. I found, I'm not like picking anybody. I think this is kind of cool. There's this house in Otsego that is $500,000. And it's on the river, and it's on a bigger lot, like 1.5 acres, and it's cute. It's an attractive house. They got multiple offers, and I'm hypothesizing that they had an immense amount of showing activity. So I'm just guessing it was completely just nuts over there in the last week, and that just threw our numbers all the way upside down. So I kind of ignored that 500K range, and because it kind of subdivides into sections for me when I do this research. And I noticed all the other price points under 500 were getting about 3 showings a week. So that's why in parentheses I wrote actually 3. Plus, let's look at the last week. 3.1, 2.4, 2.9, 3. I mean, we're just getting about 3 showings a week. We've had 3 showings a week for a really long time. I mean, now we're jumping down into the 2s. When we were back in January, we knew that it was slower. We got really slow around that, that Thanksgiving time, which again is very predictable. We've talked about that before. So, I don't think 7.8 is accurate. I don't think if you're putting your house on the market, you should suddenly be prepared for it to be a zoo. I just don't think that's expected. Now, Hennepin County did have a pickup from last week. They went from 5 to 6, and you can see there's some inconsistencies with Hennepin, 5 and then 7 and then kind of like 6 and then 7. So they're bouncing around because it's probably a bigger selection of houses, because I'm putting the entire county of Hennepin in there. So it's going to bounce around more. But, again, if you're selling a house in Hennepin County, you're probably just going to get a lot more showings. There's a bigger population, all just kind of the things that you could derive without me telling you. They are seeing more multiple offers. Again, we expect that. It doesn't mean it's slow and nothing sells in Wright County. That's absolutely not what I want you to take from this video or any other videos I make, because obviously houses sell every day. Condition matters, being priced right matters, having great marketing matters, frankly, getting it on the MLS really matters. Like, these things are a big deal. And lastly, 38 days is average in Wright County, 19 is median. That's, a big jump. But I only look at pending data, and I only look at the last 7 days. And so I'm trying to get like the best data for you. So it does jump around week to week. So it's always, a very similar story. We haven't had a lot of change. It's like I should expect it to take about a month. I should, probably more likely it'll take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Again, if I'm doing everything as good as I can, which, obviously, if I'm helping you, I'm definitely going to try to do that, because the last thing you want is for a house not to sell. That's completely contradictory of like our goals together as a team. So yeah, so bottom line is closings went up, showing activity went up in Wright County, but it's definitely a misnomer. So let's just erase that part and say everything is kind of just steady on, and it'll be curious to see what happens as we go into May and then June and so forth. I'll predict it's going to slow down as usual. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I hope that you found something helpful, and that if you did, you'll follow along, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. I'd love to have your company. And as always, I'm happy to hear from you if there's anything I can do to help you move the needle forward on your real estate journey. Have a fantastic week.